I am not here to debate with anyone. I have devoted all of my adult life to this subject. I only debate with my equals. All others I teach.
All right. So let me go ahead and begin this live stream. Um, I'm going to say that um, I'm going to say that I'm an American, an African American, Black America, if you want to call it. And I'm looking at this video called "We Have a Black Brit Problem." As an American, I'm going to say, and I see Hammer Time Funk said, "Hey, what's going on? What's up with you?" So I'm going to say I agree with pretty much what you said about how the right wing view black people, and it's not synonymous. I was going to be going with you. It's not it's not just an American thing. Every time I watch right wing pop politics in the West, there's always the fear of the other, the fear of the outsider, or the fear those who look different or than them, or those who pray different than them. There's always this fear, and they create policies that act upon that fear. And I put some links in the description box. Well, actually, I did. I only put one link in, but I'm gonna put a couple links in the description box of the narrative that or some of the narratives that's been advanced. All right. So let me go ahead and play what BSW React said. All right. I'm gonna play a little bit of his video, and I'm gonna say it's fair use. Let me give him his respect, because he's reacting to another reaction, but I didn't have time to look up the other video that he's reacting to. So I'm gonna add on something that the person, the subject that he's referring to. Right. So yeah, Copyright Act. So anyway, I'm gonna give my Black American perspective on a Black British problem, because I see this Black British problem is just like what's going on here with Black American content creators, these Black conservative content creators, on how they act and view their own people within their own race. Anyway, let's keep.
Remember who Nigel Farage is? This guy, one of the most racist people in the UK. Do not ever vote this guy.
I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston, Jack.
Oh yeah, and this is to my serious content creators, my serious followers, people who are serious, people who are not in trolls. Go there and subscribe. He only got 14 subscribers. His video just came out yesterday. So anyways, keep moving.
What's with all these right-wing Black Brits? Or you guys, what's wrong with you, man? Video by Eli Wanando. I've seen a bit of this video, a little bit, just to check it out, see what he's talking about. And yeah, it's a cold name, Wanando. Yeah, that's a dope name still. That's a strong name, Eli. Spelled over E-L-Y. It's a new one still. Anyway, enough waffling. Let's get into it, bro.
I saw a video saying something like, Black Caribbean people are the most integrated people in this country. This was during the riots. And the idea, I think, was that, well, don't come for us. We're so integrated. We were.
Okay. Now, I'm assuming when he's talking about the riots, I'm assuming he's talking about the riots in the UK over the summer. I'm going to assume, right? Because I remember there was a riot during the Black Lives Matter riot in 2016, 2007, 17. There was a riot. Then there was a riot during the what happened earlier this year with Tommy Robinson and all those white boys was tearing up. Apparently was protesting, tearing things up in London, Liverpool, Birmingham, and any other major city in England. So I'm assuming he's talking about the latter, and many Muslims mosque was being damaged, or people who are of the Islamic faith was being bogarted and harassed. I'm assuming he's talking about that, so I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
Want to be part of your society, you know.
I mean, that is true.
Go on these marches and support these people. When did this country become your country to take from somebody else? Do you not understand that half of these people who want their country back, they want their country back from you too?
Very true. Very true.
People.
Right. So, and I agree with that, because when you hear phrases, now I'm gonna use a phrase that's "Make America Great Again." You hear that phrase a lot, right? Ronald Reagan produced that. Make MAGA. MAGA actually was created in 1979, 1980. That first, when Reagan was running for his first term as president. Well, you know, when he ran for his first term as president, when he was elected, that was his tagline. Donald Trump took that tagline or the slogan and made it his in 2015, 2006 into 2016 up till today. So that's where MAGA came from. MAGA is actually older than some of us who are alive. And the question I was asked, when did America stop being great? I have always asked that question. When did America stop being great? Notice Ronald Reagan did this in 1980. And during the 70s and 60s, preceding his presidency, we had civil rights movement, the women's lib movement, of all these other movements, and MAGA, which is Make America Great Again, in its current form, it came off the heels of the first non-white president of the United States in the form of Barack Hussein Obama. So that's why I always ask. I never asked the question, when did America stop being great? Because the tagline said "Make America Great Again." So the tagline said, okay, when did America stop being great? And a lot of conservatives, particularly white conservatives, never answered that question. So I'm assuming it's the same logic over in the UK. When did Great Britain stop being? When did Britain stop being great?
Here in the UK and in the USA as well, and probably other parts of the West.
So before we go any further, I know that was just the intro, but a fact is, Caribbean people are the most integrated culture or immigrants inside of British culture. It's in the music, it's in our food.
Oh! I'm glad though you're talking about the Caribbeans. I'm glad, man. You about to see. I predict in 6 months I predict in 6 months, because you said Caribbean people are the most tagline in quotations integrated people. See, we got to put a quotations around the term, the word integrated, right? And I know what the context of the word integrated does not mean what Martin Luther King and the changing integrated schools. No. When some of y'all talk about integrated, some of y'all want to capitulate. That's not the and let me make myself clear, right? Let me make myself clear, because I'm trying to be careful with my words. In 6 months' time, y'all going to replace that word integration with being a tether. I have a feeling y'all in Great Britain are going to turn around and use the term that Tariq Nasheed used, that if you go on Black America, Black Canadians channels, the word tether is going to be used a lot more than the word integrationist, because integrationist, I mean, that term can mean anything, right? I mean, I went to an integrated school. I went to an integrated hospital. Went to an integrated, you know what I'm saying? So that term integrated, I think that term is too loose, and it's not. I understand what y'all mean because it's usually the people I see on TV are who are in government criticizing the black population within Great Britain or in America are usually people from the Caribbean or from the African continent. And they don't live in the United States, they don't live in the United Kingdom. They don't know about the history of being a minority. See, the problem with the Caribbeans and also the Africans, who we call tethers, they come from majority black areas, right? So when they hear the word conservatism, they're looking at it from the conservatism of, okay, we want women to act, we want gender roles to be a certain way, and we want this to be a certain way. Conservatism is in the context of their own home country, not conservatism within the context of America or Great Britain. I can be considered, as a black American from the South, I'm more conservative, right? I'm very anti, I wouldn't say anti, I'm very on when it comes to gender roles. When it comes to gender roles, I believe that there's only two genders. There's a man, there's a woman, there's an XX chromosome, there's an XY chromosome. I'm conservative when it comes to that. I'm also conservative when it comes to climate change. I believe that climate change is something that's a cycle, that's a natural occurring cycle versus the whole green, that climate, the climate change, the politics of climate change is everything. Every climate change event is man-made versus made by national nature itself, or God creating it himself. So yeah, so when we talk about conservatism, tethers look at conservatism completely different than what the black American, black Canadian, and the black British person, and I'm gonna say this again, you in the UK will be adopting the word tether in the next 6 months. It's coming. Anyway, let's keep it moving.
Dude, everywhere. you're gonna see some type of Jamaican culture, Caribbean culture inside of the UK. It's just very much integrated and woven inside of the country. Now, in terms of what British culture is, British culture has been something that's been confusing for a long time. So I couldn't even tell you. I'm a British person. I can't even tell you what British culture is. You know, like in terms of food, I can tell you, bangers and mash, flipping steak pies, sausage batter and chips. Yeah, I can tell you that much, right? But then when you look around and you walk around, you actually see what shops are actually running sausage batter and chips, for example, fish and chips. They're Turkish. So it's one of those ones, you know. But that's in London. So yeah, British culture is one of those ones where it's like this is one of the slogans I like to use. Keep calm and carry on. You don't see anybody talk about this shit anymore. Like, this is one thing you learn in primary school, you never learn it ever again. British values, patriotism, that's what it is. Yeah, British culture is one of the more confusing things I'd say nowadays. It's not like how Americans are, how you guys are just like, oh yeah, I'm a patriot. Like, it's not the same thing over here. When you say you're a patriot over here in the UK, you more times than not, 9 times out of 10, you're just saying, "Oh man, I want it to be more white."
I disagree. I disagree because going back to the mantra of MAGA, and you hear phrases in right-wing radio, "You're a great American." What does that mean to be a great American? You hear people like Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. They always use the term "great American," and then the images that's being put out is the white man, surrounded by his family, and there's nothing else with him except for other groups of people in his similar fashion with the 50 stars and 13 stripes up in the air. So anytime we hear that word patriot here in the United States, we get that image. And that image does not include people that looks like you or me. So despite the fact that on our side, black people fought in every war, every war that America has been in, and so forth, and we never get our uh, um, uh, just due on that accord.
9 times out of 10. So it's a bit messed up at the moment, I'd say. Anyway, let him continue. Let Eli continue.
The world who identify as right wing or as conservative. And in this video today, I wanted to talk a little bit about why might this be? Why is it that there are these growing numbers of black people who identify themselves in such way and who align themselves with politics which on the face of it appear to be kind of against their own interests? Firstly, I want to talk a little bit about the apparent oxymoron. So the reason why it seems a little bit oxymoronic or a little bit strange to see this rise of black right wingers.
By the way, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen any of these black right wingers on YouTube, on in the UK. I don't see them.
Okay, well, you must be new. You must be new because there are a lot of black conservatives. The black manosphere. You got Kimmy Batenock, who is y'all's the leader of the Conservative Party in UK. We got people. Yeah. I mean, you know what? Let's stop there. The leader of your own, the woman who wants to be the next prime minister of the United Kingdom, your country, is a black woman from Nigeria, and she trash y'all every chance. She trash every black person every chance she gets, and she denies her own heritage. Now I got some clips to back me up on this because you know, I'm gonna play some clips about her in a minute. But if you go down that rabbit hole, you will see that a lot of black conservatives have this, no matter on both sides of the Atlantic, have this vitriol against their own people. Uh, they're more prone to attack their own leaders, like how there's a mass. I'm speaking on this side of the Atlantic. This massive push to delegitimize Martin Luther King and by or use or say that Malcolm X was a bisexual and Martin Luther King has orgies, trying to denigrate their character, and the main faces doing it are black. You got people like this fool named Ellison, and you got this guy named Bo Jackson. No, not Bo Jackson. Barry Jackson. Some guy named Jackson online saying this crazy nonsense. So don't be. So when you go down this rabbit hole, trust and believe. When you see people attacking black leaders who are now no longer here, 9 times out of 10 they are conservative, and they hangs around with and attack the white, attack these black lead the dead black leaders just to get with white conservative algorithm. So be on the lookout for that. I'm just saying, if you go further down the rabbit hole.
Right. So I can't personally say I see more right-wing black people. In terms of me, majority of the time, black people are more clued up over here, but they know, like, okay, don't vote for fucking reform, because that's what gets all of us out of it.
Right. So. And that's why, though, I admire about Black Britain. All right. I admire about y'all when it comes to the online space of the Black UK sector, because y'all know what's going on. All right. For the most part, when something like this is happening, y'all link up faster. It'll take y'all mere minutes for y'all to link up. Over here, across the Atlantic, you got 4 different types of black when it comes to black online, like black YouTube, right? Or what I call black YouTube. You got the pro blacks, you got the black manosphere, you got the women's, the sisterhood, quote unquote, and and then you got the black conservatives. So the black conservatives and black manosphere, they on the right wing, and the pro blacks, they on that little nonsense, and the women they on some insecurity stuff. So over here we don't get our shit right until we're forced to. We only gonna force together unless something big happens. But over where y'all at, I admire y'all. Because when Nigel Farage say something, and Nigel Farage is a Trump, is a politician in Great Britain who's backed by Donald Trump. The Reform Party in the UK is funded by MAGA. Okay, so I want y'all to understand, because I don't know if y'all watched the 2024 Republican convention. There was a British man up on who's up on stage. This is the person that this young brother is talking about. It goes by the name of Nigel Farage. Anyway, let's keep it moving.
Then I wouldn't say there's a lot of black right wingers out there. I wouldn't say that. That's just me. My experience, I haven't seen them.
It's because traditionally here in the UK, the right, and particularly the far right, the extreme right of the political spectrum, has generally not been a friend to black people. So if we, if you think about...
Well, that's history, by the way. If you look at history, think about civil rights. Right wing is usually the conservative side. That's what right wing usually revolves around. People want to keep their values. They don't want things to change. They don't want to progress anywhere. That's what the right usually tends to be. On the left, it tends to be the side that's more progressive. They want to change things. They want to progress humanity. Less wars going on in between ourselves. Be more accepting of another brother or another person, or just because of the lifestyle, don't discriminate. That's what the left wing usually is. Now, the reason I brought up the civil rights is because civil rights, the people that didn't want it to happen were right wing, right? So the right wing politics, it favors racism. People who tend to be racist are usually right wing.
Right. So let me go ahead and make this statement, because he put up a quote, and he referenced Enoch Powell. Enoch Powell wrote a speech called "The Rivers of Blood," and he made this speech talking about the black hand will soon have the whip over the white back. The white hand, the black hand will hold the whip over a white person's back, suggesting that black people will enslave the white man. The black man will enslave the white man. That's what Enoch Powell was suggesting in that speech, and that speech wasn't just a one-off speech. That he actually timed it. He timed that speech because that speech was given on April 20th. I think it was April 20th, April 17th. I forgot. It was like the last 2 weeks of April of 1968. Now, what happened in April 1968? Now, here in America, here across the Atlantic, one of our greatest leaders in Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on April 4th, 1968. So Enoch Powell was making a racial statement in the UK while the cities in the United States was rioting and burning at the time. See, when I talk about white supremacy, or what y'all call white supremacy, it's not a nation by nation, it's international, because it affects commerce and trade and everything else that comes along with it.
Having the same type of values, because those are the people that accept those things. Like, oh yeah, you shouldn't integrate with another culture. Oh yeah, you should try and preserve your culture for as long as possible, which I have no problem with. But at the same time, I don't think it should be a thing where accepting of other cultures, because why would you accept one culture and not accept another? That's straight up racism. You feel me? But yeah, in history, right wing usually favors being racist and not trying to change anything and keep things the way they are. Don't progress in terms of society. Don't progress in terms of multiculturalism, which is literally what the UK is nowadays. Bloody hell, like, what, chicken tikka masala? That was made in Scotland.
And I'm glad though he put this up here, right? I'm glad he put this part up here, because facts matter. Why would you call a dish British and saying it's the birthplace of this dish when the dish originated somewhere else? I remember I was watching a PBC. I like to eat. I like to not eat. Of course, I like to eat, because I'm Yeah, I'm big, so I like to eat. But anyway, the point I was trying to say is, if you watch some of your cooking shows from the UK, look at the food that they claim that they desire, right? Oh, this is a British food. When you look back at the history of this dish, right? Where a lot of their dish comes from Caribbean, Indian, African, and sometimes over here in North America. They integrated international food into their food, and yet though they call it their own. I want y'all the next time you go to a British or English food channel and look up when they talk about food, go look up the origins of that dish that they suggesting that it's purely British when it's really is not. It's mostly that's they shouldn't call it British food. They should call it colonial food. If you ask me, I'm being politically correct.
It's rough. They might not integrate. Multiculturalism is in the UK.
What right wing means, what far right, extreme right means. Generally, what you're talking about is there's kind of like the social and the economic elements. That's one of the most simple ways you can think about politics. So, economically, the pushing of so-called free market economics, the removing of controls over corporations and the private sector, the idea that the state should be small, so not a lot of influence or interference into the workings of the market. The idea, this mythical idea of the free market.
Oh, that's another thing. Like when he brings up, I agree with that. Where the right wing tends to want for more of a free market, so where billionaires and anybody can just buy up essential utilities and less workers' rights, less ability for workers to actually push for higher wages. Trades unions, for example, there used to be a whole bunch of trade unions. Back in the 1950s. Obviously, I didn't live through that, but you can look in history and
Right. See, and he's right, but it's not just in the UK. You had this here in America because now the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos, uh, here in States and in Canada as well, they cannot be touched by government regulations anymore. They can Elon Musk. I'm gonna use him as a prime example. Elon Musk actually bought a county in Texas. Yes, Elon Musk bought a county. This county is I forgot what this county is. I tell you what. I don't have it in front of me, but I want y'all to look up Space City. Space City is a newly constructed town. So what happened though? Elon Musk went to Austin. SpaceX rather. Went to Austin and have the state reps and state senators to draw up resolutions and to take a part of a county, create a town. So the state of Texas told Elon Musk, listen, you can't just take the whole part of the county. You have to create. If you're gonna have a bunch of people living on this property, you got to create a town. So when they created this town, Elon Musk appointed the city council members rather than having the people voted them in. So so next time you hear about SpaceX and SpaceX is in South Texas and they're launching rockets to the moon and to outer space and into Mars, understand where it comes from. The most of the employees live in land that's been bought by a corporation, and he's using public money to partially do it, and public land to do it as well. But anyway, and also Jeff Bezos not giving his own employees much benefits and health care and such. UPS, I'm gonna use UPS. UPS is not giving their drivers because there's been major concern about heating and air conditioning because they'll a lot of the drivers are suffering from especially during the summertime heat stroke, and they refuse to give the driving vans air conditioning. So UPS told the unions, okay, we'll either cut y'all pay or you gonna get air conditioning. So the unions, because they're not strong enough, relented to UPS and also FedEx conditions. So anyway, let's keep it moving. Yeah, exactly. Foreigners get their own land in America. I want you to understand that. Yeah, Southern Breeze. Anything's good unless you're starving. Yeah, I see it.
See that there were more trades unions back in the day, 1950s, after the war, during that era, right? When the UK was trying to rebuild itself again, there were tons of trades unions going out, and throughout the years, mainly during Margaret Thatcher and the Conservative Party, there's been a significant slash in trades unions.
Mm-hmm.
And trades unions are the reason why people are able to ask for higher wages. Look, for example, you can look at the Scandinavian countries. They have humongous amounts of trades unions out there, and the trades unions make it to where the people that work in get fair pay. They don't just get bullied by the billionaires, your Elon Musks, your Jeff Bezos. They don't get bullied to just stay at the same wage and survive on that same wage from 10 years ago. It doesn't make sense, right? So when you slash trade unions, it makes things 10 times harder for a worker and the people of that country to be able to ask for higher wages. Even though they're asking for the bare minimum. They're asking for, I need to survive.
Okay, well, I'm gonna cut through the chase on this because there's something else I want to show, right? Because I mentioned Kimmy Badenoch, right? I mentioned Badenoch and about black conservatives and how black conservatives are mostly from the Caribbean, mostly are from the African continent, right? So let me go ahead and go over here. Let me go over here, and I'm gonna share this, right? This is the person who I'm referring to. This woman who wants to be the next Prime Minister of the UK.
Politicization happening in every sphere, and I see it happening even there, where Black History Month becomes Racism History Month, which isn't what it should be. It should be a time.
See, notice what she just said, right? Black History Month is now Racism History Month. Now, I'm not dumb, right? Wait. Stop it. Wait a minute. I messed up, y'all. Hold on. I closed that out by a mistake. You know what? Never mind. I'm just gonna tell you. Because I forgot where it came from. Anyway, she was trying to talk about calling she's trying to suggest that Black History Month is, has become Racism History Month. So how are you going to talk about Black history on both sides of the Atlantic when racism was a part of that history? I don't care on what side. I don't care if you in Britain, America, Canada, in France. How can you talk about Black history without talking about desegregation, segregation, integration? You know, the race riots, certain inventors not being, you know, Mary Seacolt. If we want to talk about Black British, Black Commonwealth history, Mary Seacolt was a Black woman from the Caribbean, went to Britain, signed up to be a nurse during the Crimean War in 1850. When that war started, 1856 or something. When Great Britain and wait a minute, what happened there? Great Britain and France fought Russia in order to protect Turkey. They fought the war. They was allied with Turkey to fight the Russians over the Crimean, and Crimea is the area of Ukraine, by the way. That was fighting over that little place called Crimea, which is part of modern day Ukraine. And anyway, long story short, Mary Seacolt and Florence Nightingale. Florence Nightingale was such a bigot and such a racist. She didn't want Mary Seacolt to be rewarded and saving the lives of many British and French troops with her nursing techniques and such. But how you supposed to talk about Mary Seacolt and then you don't want to you know, you're going to have to talk about the racism part, because that is part of the history. And Mary Seacolt died penniless and broke in London, despite the fact she saved thousands of British soldiers' lives. You know, it's pretty much asinine for her to sit there and make that argument. I think that argument is a flawed argument, and that argument is just a slop for white conservatives to say, "Oh yeah, man, I'm glad she's downplaying black British people." Yeah, that's what it is. Downplaying how sinful and how deviant minded the Victorian era was, the black people. Right. Professor Cupcake, I ain't seen you in a long time. Yeah. So intelligent people can never be exhausted by learning more and more history. And history has been consistently been re-expressed because a younger generation always born. Right. Right. But anyway, let me go back to Kimmy Badenoch. Yeah, let me go back to Kimmy Badenoch, because she said something on the floor of the House of Commons a few years back. This back when Black Lives Matter went international. And this woman is going to be the next Prime Minister of Great Britain if y'all don't, check her.
The contribution of Black Britons who enrich our collective national life and form an inseparable part of our national history. Women like Yvonne Connolly, who in 1969 became the UK's first Black female head teacher. Throughout her 40-year career, she has inspired and mentored generations of educators. Mr. Speaker, the work of Ms. Connolly and her fellow heads is key in the topic we are debating. Education is the key to our mission as a government to level up and spread opportunity to everyone, whatever their background. Many members have said they want more Black history taught, but they don't seem to be aware of what is actually on the curriculum. Our curriculum is not the curriculum of 50, 40, or even 20 years ago. Children today are able to learn about the British Empire and colonialism, about the transatlantic slave trade and its abolition, and of how our history has been shaped by people of all ethnicities, as well as having the opportunity to study non-European cultures such as Mughal India or the Benin Empire, which is where my ancestors decided to have their own opportunity to take over the world in their own way. Pupils can currently study,
and which she currently denying her own Nigerian heritage. Now, a couple months ago, Kimmy Badenoch got up on TV and said, "To hell with being Nigerian." Now, I'm not. I can play that clip. Y'all can find it. I'm not gonna go there because I got another live stream I want to do with another topic. But anyway, let's keep it going.
Study migration empires and the people in the AQA history GCSE, for example. The member for Ilford North is quite wrong to say that that's the only place that it can be learned. There are many other exam bodies that do offer this. But our curriculum does not need decolonizing for the simple reason that it is not colonized. We should not apologize for the fact that British children primarily study the history of these islands. And it goes without saying that the recent fad to decolonize maths, decolonize engineering, decolonize the sciences that we have seen across our universities to make race the defining principle of what is studied is not just misguided, but actively opposed to the fundamental purpose of education.
Well, okay. Now she just sit there and said, right, about the decolonization, right? And yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. She's just you must be from the UK because you know what I'm about to talk about. Yeah, she's just a placeholder for him. She's actually a placeholder for Jimrick. Yeah, she's just a placeholder for him. Because I'm gonna tell you what they did though. They set her up to fail. Right? It's kind of like what they did to Kamala Harris during last year's presidential election over here. They set her up to fail last year. They needed a blackface so everybody could test out the racism from the left, right? Because they were expecting the left wing, which is the Labor Party. They was expecting her, to take all the blows, the hits. They wanted her to be chewed up and spit out, right? Because she was the leader of she's the leader of the loyal opposition, right? So the leaders of the loyal opposition usually somebody who is the next leader, the next candidate to be prime minister. So they know, but since the conservatives had taken a beating that they had never took in their 200 years of existence, they needed somebody to take all the fall, to be the fall guy for every mistake made the last 15 years, and they put it on her. She went ahead and she thinking though, well, let me just do. I want to be the head Negro in charge, so let me just be. So I want all these white people to make me to their black savior to save Great Britain, and it is not happening. She has a short shelf life as leader of the Conservative Party in Great Britain, and she's being used for her. They're using her anti-blackness statements as a way to so they can mask themselves with their immigrant views. But anyway, it's something that she said that really angered me, though.
The curriculum by its very nature is limited. There are a finite number of hours to teach any subject, and what we haven't heard in this debate from those members who want more added to it on both sides of the House is what necessarily must be taken out. Perhaps we'll get to that on another day. Members such as the member for Islington North and many others have raised the Black Lives Matter movement. The member for Streatham raised the education guidance and believes that we're trying to stop children from becoming activists. I believe another member, apologies, I've forgotten who it was who mentioned it. However, what we are against is the teaching of contested political ideas as if they are accepted facts. We don't do this with communism, we don't do this with socialism, we don't do it with capitalism. And I want to speak about a dangerous trend in race relations that has come far too close to home to my life. And it is the promotion of critical race theory, an ideology that sees my blackness as victimhood and their whiteness as oppression. I want to be absolutely clear. This government stands unequivocally against critical race theory. Some schools have decided to openly support the anti-capitalist Black Lives Matter group.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Something, I forgot to add something. Because earlier, she said something about colonialism, right? About education being colonial, right? It's not being colonial. Actually, it is colonial. If your country, as well as mine, have put up colonies around the world, and using terms like manifest destiny, and using terms like onward Christian soldiers, to justify you using the Christianity, the justifying of educating these poor, quote unquote, brown skinned people, and then take their resources while you give them these Bibles, and you robbing their resources, you're enslaving them. So you can't say it's decolonization or colonization does not exist when the money that's funding the education comes from colonizing efforts overseas. I'm just there to point that out, though. I'm just there to point that out.
Often where they have a statutory duty to be politically impartial. Black lives do matter, of course they do. But we know that the Black Lives Matter movement, capital BLM, is political. I know this because at the height of the protest, I saw white Black Lives, well, I've been told of white Black Lives Matter protesters calling, and I'm afraid I apologize for saying this word, calling a black armed police officer guarding Downing Street a pet nigger. That is why we do not endorse that movement on this side of the House.
Okay, but Kimmy, Miss Bacon Knock, right? The pet N-word, right? The pet nigger, right? Do you see yourself now? If I'm sitting there across the room from her, or me, her, or having a chat, I would ask it straight up. Do you feel like you're being treated as one currently? Because the people in your own back bench are laughing at you. They're using you as a laughing stock. They're actually conspiring. Your own cabinet, your own team, your front benchers are conspiring to get rid of you. And most, if not all of your team are white. You got two, three, maybe four black people who are conservative. One of them you beat in the leadership race. You didn't put him in your cabinet. You didn't put him on your squad. But now all this all white or mostly white the front bench team, they are conspiring against you. They're trying to get Janwick to replace you because you been a year of whipping posts and everything else, and now they're calling you a DEI hire in conservatism. That's if you go to the blogs. That's what if you go to some of these UK political channels, these radio talk show hosts in the UK, they call yourself a DEI hire. Notice that DEI is an American term, but like what I try to tell people, DEI is a replacement word or euphemism to mean the N word, especially for black women. Just saying.
Is a political movement, and what would be nice would be for members on the opposite side to condemn many of the actions that we see this political movement, instead of pretending that it is a completely wholesome anti-racist organization. There is a lot of pernicious stuff that is being pushed, and we stand against that. We do not want to see teachers teach white privilege and inherited racial guilt. And let me be clear, any school which teaches these elements of critical race theory as fact, or which promotes partisan political views such as defunding the police without offering a balanced treatment of opposing views, is breaking the law. Members have mentioned the police. Our history is our own, it's not America's. Too often, those who campaign against racial inequality import wholesale a narrative and assumptions that have nothing to do with this country's history and have no place on these islands.
Hold on. Let's play that again. Because no. You're not getting away with that. You're not getting away with that because you said something that was erroneous.
Import wholesale a narrative and assumptions, racial inequality, import. Our history is our own, it's not America's.
Our history is not America. But then you try to deny colonialism. The United States of America declared its independence from the British. Slaves, those colonies, those 13 colonies at the time had slaves. Those slaves been here since King James. King James III, King James II. Or better yet, the slaves been here since Elizabeth I, right? If you want to, since Elizabeth I, slaves been in America. She been queen of the British Empire when the British had slaves who ruled a nation that benefit off of the Atlantic slave trade. So for you to sit there and say that American history, that Black American history and that Black British history are different when those two groups of people was created for the most part by the Atlantic slave trade. See, this is a disingenuous argument that you're making. And now though you're about to say something right after this that really, I'm in this soon though, but it's very disingenuous, and she tried to sugarcoat her country's historical narrative.
From those who campaign against racial inequality import wholesale a narrative and assumptions that have nothing to do with this country's history and have no place on these islands. Our police force is not their police force. Since its establishment by Robert Peel, our police have operated on the principle of policing by consent, and it gives me tremendous pride to still, in 2020, live in a nation where the vast majority of our police officers are unharmed. On the history of Black people in Britain, again, our history of race is not America's history of race. Most black British people who have come to our shores were not brought here in chains, but came voluntarily.
Whoa, stop. 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 Stop right there. They did not came here in chains. They did not come to the UK in chains, right? Well, Miss Badenoch, why did the British have slaves? She didn't sugarcoat shit. Everybody just pointed at her lap. Right. Exactly. Exactly. She just said that black people did not come to the UK in chains. As if that's supposed to absolve British the British involvement in sending slaves under the British flag to the before America became America, quote unquote, before the Declaration of Independence. If you go to New York, Virginia, Pennsylvania, the Carolinas, even in Georgia, we still have what? The British flag, right? All the names I mentioned had the British was owned by the British, was under the states that I just mentioned. Put it a better way. The states that I just mentioned was colonies under the British flag. And for her to sit there and say, well, like we didn't have people locked up in chains coming over here. There were a lot of black people came to the British Isles in chains. What are you talking about? There's been a black woman in Northern Ireland who, when Ireland was captured by the British, there was black people in Ireland. There was a black woman in Ireland, and I did a video on it. She was one of the greatest singers in Ireland. That was an African woman. That was in the that was in the 1600s. What are you talking about? I forgot her name now. Go on my Black History. Yeah. Now the Hawaiian flag, the history of the Hawaiian flag is different, George. Let me talk about the history of the Hawaiian flag since you stated it. Hawaii, the reason why Hawaii had its flag the way it does, Hawaii as its own kingdom, the king of Hawaii did not have a flag. So during the American Revolution and during the War of 1812, I think the War of the American Revolution, both the Continental Navy and the British Navy was fighting in the Pacific. They used, thank you, Rachel Baptiste. Thank you. I'm glad though you mentioned the name. That's what I'm referring to. How can she just say what you just said when Rachel Baptiste was one of the greatest singers of the British Islands, of the British Isles? And everybody was like, who is this black woman singing? What are people? So that's what I'm saying. What is she talking about? But let me go back to the Hawaiian flag, right? During the Revolutionary War, the Continental Navy, which is the United States Navy, and the what we now call the United States Navy, and the British Navy, they was fighting in the Pacific. So the king of the Hawaii was like, listen, y'all cannot be fighting around my shores. So because y'all being shipwrecked on my island, I'm gonna horse up this flag. So what he did, he took the British Union Jack and put American bars and stripes, and say, listen, y'all did, my island is for peace. Y'all welcome to be fed and rebuild y'all ships, yet y'all can't be fighting over here. That's why the Hawaiian flag is the way it is. And that Hawaiian flag been around since the 1700s. See, I hope people, know about that. And guess what? I know somebody gonna ask, well, Big J, how do you know? I read American history. Listen, I'm such a nerd. I actually read the history of most of the 50 states. Believe it or not, I do that on my spare time. I read the history of each of the 50 states, especially the 50th state, Hawaii. Anyway, yeah. England did not conquer Hawaii. America did not. Well, America eventually took over Hawaii in 1893, but that's a whole other. We got to talk about that on a whole other day, because and plus though, the British government wanted the United States to take over Hawaii in the 1800s because they wanted a way to put out their cotton and sugar cane to China and to trade with the United States. They were looking for outposts, so Britain helped finance the takeover of Hawaii, so Hawaii can be as a trade post to trade with the Japanese and the Chinese. See, that happened in the 1890s. Y'all see, if you look up the history of Hawaii, you'll sit there and see that. Yeah. If you look up the history of Hawaii, yeah. Anyway, let's keep it moving.
Due to their connections to the UK and in search of a better life, I should know I am one of them. And we have our own joys and sorrows to tell. From the Windrush generation to the Somali diaspora.
She gonna mention the Windrush thing, right? Now, I did a video on the Windrush about 8 years ago. About 9 years ago, I did a video on the Windrush where black people or children of black nurses, black professionals, was being deported back to the Caribbean. Windrush was a program after World War II, because most of the white population was affected, right? Because for all intents and purposes, England or the UK rather, UK was bombed so many times, and a lot of people were either, when it comes to the adult population, a lot of the adult white population was diminished. A lot of your orphans, your white orphans in the UK, was moved to Canada and the United States, and a lot of those orphans during World War II whose parents died in the UK, they're not coming back. Okay, a lot of those orphans from the UK that arrive here in America or in Canada, they're not coming back, right? So in order to replace the population, the British government said, okay, we're going to get people from the Caribbean, from Jamaica, the Bahamas, Bermuda. We're going to get all these black people from all these West Indies islands and settle them here in America. This happened between the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, up to the 80s. Now what they're doing, they're telling the children and the grandchildren, well, where's your citizenship? So therefore, if you don't have your citizenship, we're going to remove you. So that's been a big story in Great Britain during the last decade. I should say pre-COVID. So yeah, Big J knows because Big J reads. Yes, yes, yes. I know because I read. I don't get on the internet to troll people, George. I don't get on the internet to talk shit about black women and shame, blame, and explain. I actually read, you know. So yeah, but anyway, I'm gonna cut this short. You know, that's my perspective on. I'm giving him my Black American perspective to a Black British issue because what I see is similar. It seems that most who we call tethers, it seems like they have a gripe against the native black population, whether that's in the UK or over here in North America. So yeah, so let me get off of here. I might do another live stream later today. I'm not sure because I'm still looking for Kelly Ray, and Kelly Ray, she ain't. You know, Kelly Ray has to explain herself about that. You know, telling me to have a seat. I'm still looking for her to explain herself about me having a seat. But anyway, I'm out of here. I'll see you next time. I'm out. Peace.
I am not here to debate with anyone. I have devoted all of my adult life to this subject. I only debate with my equals. All others I teach.